So we are live, sir.
Shall we?
Yeah, please proceed.
A warm afternoon to each and everyone present here. And today, as mental health is very indispensable, and also we, the medicos who actually backs it a more or actually lacking it due to some or other reasons. So today we are actually going to conduct a quick session on mental health simulation program. And here is our panelist, Dr. Oragina sir, and sir did his MBBS in St. John's Medical College, Bangalore, and did his MD Psychiatry at Andhra Medical College, Visakhapatnam. And currently, he was assistant professor at Government Hospital for Mental Care, Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh.
Good afternoon, everyone.
So today, actually, the medicals who are actually really want to improve mental health related issues within and to near and dear ones, but due to some or other problems, even we are actually succumbing to these things. And really, there might be many mental health programs by even our government of India, but still we are lagging behind because there is not only a single reason for this, because many may think that it would be because of just educational or else any personal problems, but in addition to all these things, there may be social, cultural, and many other aspects adding to it. So this is very indispensable and very important to talk about these things which are highly required and which actually boost up the medical fraternity and also brings up the resilience and boost up for the young medicals and doctors. So without much delay, so we shall start the session.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
So, as Dr. Ravi, who is saying that mental health is very much essential for everyone. But why mental health is being a stigma? It has been a stigma for a very long time. Maybe we can consider the stigma has come down a little bit in recent years, but not yet disappeared. But sometimes it is very much discouraging to see even some of the medical fraternity showing a certain kind of stigma towards mental health. So, what would be the reason behind the stigma towards mental health? There could be various reasons. If we go towards historically, those people who are mentally ill are considered to be possessed by demons. Maybe even that kind of notion is still hanging on or still lurking beneath the surface of everyone's mind, that mentally ill people are possessed by demons. So, where demons are considered as bad, and because of which everyone is trying to ignore mental health. So, how to improve our mental health? It is not a very simple, because it is not being practiced for very, very long time. So most of the time, this is a resounding. Okay. Most of the time, why people succumb to mental health? When we ask this mental ill health, why people become mentally ill? So when we ask this question, what would the first thing which would strike our mind? What would the first thing which would strike our mind? Can you answer?
Yes, sir. Actually, the main problem that medicals face is just like inferiority superiority complex, sir. And
Okay.
if we share to any some our peers or anyone, like we feel embarrassed firstly, sir. So that maybe they may feel like having some sympathy, or else maybe they may mock off because of those reasons, and also they may have inferiority feeling on us, or else they may have ill-treating feelings on us, sir.
Okay. So to consider inferiority, superiority complexes, uh, is are these complexes, probably superiority complex, probably inferiority complex, did they arise suddenly when they enter to the medical graduation course, or are they present previously also? If they are present previously, then we should understand that inferiority superiority complexes are not related to the medical degree or medical education. It is related to one personal individual personality. So why would a person feel superior? Why would a person feel inferior when they are present in the medical graduation course?
I think there is a problem with the network. Uh,
I think so. Let's wait for them to rejoin.
they are like in the Anju's thing. You're muted. You're muted. Kindly check you're muted. Dr. Praveen, you're muted.
I think Dr. Praveen is not in the meeting.
He's he joined through Anju. Like there's a tab called as Anju, ANJU. In that both are they're in.
Yeah,
Am I
Praveen.
audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible,
Yes, sir, you
but
are audible now,
not,
sir.
not so clear.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm audible.
Audible, no?
Am I
Yeah,
audible?
yeah, you are audible. Yeah, yes, sir.
Fine. So why would a person develop inferiority complex? See, if you are feeling encouraged, if you are feeling respected, or if your opinions, if your thoughts are being valued by your immediate persons, immediate caretakers, by your society, by your surrounding, so you feel valid. So when you feel valid, you don't need to develop inferiority complex. It is such a simple.
Sir, actually, I have one doubt, sir. Why recent times, why medical students, particularly these young budding medical students, were being succumbed by these mental health issues? because we are studying, we are doing all these things, but still why we are educated, we are not illiterates, and we know we are aware of all these things, but still why, sir? Why even on the mental health awareness day also, even in AIMS college also, a few students suicided, but why, sir?
That is,
Because
yeah, please continue. Finish the question.
so in a medical education, why there is no specific care for these things? Because who had already been experienced with all these things, like a seniors, superior authorities, and all the deans, principals, everyone, even the NMC, like they know that all these things will happen because they might have been seen all these things through the era. But why like this? Sir? What's the problem? Where we lagging?
So your education, your intellectuals, this is okay. You're absolutely right in saying you are intellectual, you know things, your cognitive functions are more than average, but stress is something different from intellectual ability. Intelligent quotient is different and emotional quotient is different.
Yes.
Okay. So if we are intellectual, it is intellectual. So we will be able to deal what you say our daily problems in life. But these are emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, our left brain most of the time is dealing with the intellectuality. Our right brain deals with emotions. Our lower part of the brain, which you can call as a reptile brain, which includes the limbic system, which includes the amygdala, which includes all these things are related to the primitive regions. So our upper part of the brain is cortex and all, they are intellectual. So we need to integrate left and right part of the brain and lower and upper part of the brain. So why are we unable to integrate these left and right, lower and upper? Is because we were not taught how to manage our emotions. We were not educated how to deal with our emotions right from the child. So because of which we are lacking in emotional intelligence, though we are very much superior in intellectual ability, in our intelligence, we are lacking in emotional intelligence. So because of which we do not know how to encounter stress when it is really facing right in front of us. That is the reason why we are lacking behind handling our emotions and our stress.
Yes, sir. But everyone is not the same, right, sir? Because there might be introverts, extroverts, ambiverts, and etc. So each person differs from each other. So
Sir,
how one we cope up with this stress or else this depression and all? Because if you tell me, I will listen, but some or other may not. So how can this be helpful? And how can the peers, or if I see someone who is abnormal in his or her behavior, so how to approach him? Because there also matters the insecurity feeling of a person. Like how should I be sensible enough to tackle the situation or to deal, to communicate with the people?
When a person is in emotional turmoil, no matter how much sense you are trying to make to them, nothing will get into their head because their emotional part is active and emotional part has taken over. And other one is the reptile brain or the instinctual brain or the reactive brain has taken over. So in this scenario, how much ever sense you are trying to make to that person. For example, let's say a kid looking into the fridge says, all my orange color candies are gone. And the kid began to throw a temper tantrum. Now, the mother comes. Why do you worry? Orange candies are gone, but there are many purple colored candies. Why don't you take them? This kind of logic will not enter into the kid's brain. In the same way, when we are succumbed with certain kind of emotional trauma, certain kind of stress, these emotions take control over the intellectual part of the brain. So no matter how much sense you are trying to make to them, nothing would get into their head. So what you need to do first, you should acknowledge their emotions. You should recognize their emotion. And you can tell them it is okay to feel in such a manner. Maybe you can relate to them, narrating your own issues. Let's say if a person is feeling fearful, you can tell them it is okay to feel fearful in this particular part of the situation. I too have faced it. So that will be there, and it is a right to be there, and you are right to express your fear. So continue having that fear. It's okay to calm down. The only thing is we can do is listen to them, acknowledge their emotions, and wait until that emotional turmoil settles down. Only after that emotional turmoil settles down, we can make sense with his disturbance, how it has occurred, and whether it is appropriate or not.
So about this, when we
Sorry for the interruption. And sir, I have a question. I'm Sai Kiran, final year MBA student.
Yeah.
So
please.
generally, we medical students have like we tend to get a feeling of validation for the work we do. So if I do something,
Validation.
yeah, feeling of validation.
Mhm.
Like if I do something, like I feel like I should be validated for this. If
Mhm.
I'm not getting validated for that, I get
Mhm.
something like low, a feeling of low. So
Yeah.
could you think this might be the reason for most of the persons to go low, and how to cope up with this? Like, is this good? This feeling of being validated, like to think, is it good?
Okay. So you're saying that obviously when we need certain type of recognition for what we have achieved, yes, we tend to show, express our sincere happiness when we have achieved something. And when somebody is not recognizing, it is generally agreeable to have a certain kind of disappointment. But should this disappointment dictate your kind of achievement? If at all it is being dictating your achievement, then your emotional part, that means being invalidated or going into the pattern of probably if the invalidation has taken over, that means you might feel depressed, you might feel low. How much ever you have achieved, how much ever you have what you say, let's stick to achievement. All these things, should it come down because you are not being validated? If at all the feeling has come down, then what is the real concern? Why are you feeling so down? Because somebody has not validated you. So now the in-depth reasoning or in-depth emotional analysis or psychoanalysis should be happening. But if it is too deep to think about, you might be repeating, or you should think whether this kind of invalidation is making you dull only in this particular area or in any other particular areas. So you need to try to understand the similarities wherever you are feeling invalidated. Is it because you are not appreciated, you are feeling invalid? Is it because you are not bothered, you are feeling invalid? Or is it because you are not being taken care of, you are being invalid? So if it is related to your academic issue, then that invalidation should be very much limited, and that should be very much reasonable, and that should go within a reasonable time period, reasonable time frame. If it is not going in that reasonable, adequate time frame, then something else is coming into play. Then we need to understand the underlying forces. Did I answer your question, Sai Kiran?
Yes, sir. Thank you for answering the question. The
You're
next thing is, many people tend to have childhood traumas, like when they're going, it might be anything, not having proper friends or parental abuse or any kind of childhood traumas, and it persists even in the adulthood. How, like, what is your advice to them, like how to cope up with that? Like you don't get a feeling of trust again on someone.
fine. Almost every one of us might have experienced some certain type of childhood traumas. So it depends upon the individual biological framework and also the traumatic situation. If our individual biological frame is very much sensitive, then very mild kind of traumatic event may be perceived as a major traumatic event. If our individual biological frame is little bit strong, then a kind of significant distress may not cause you a significant problem. But on an average, almost every one of us have one or the other childhood traumatic issues. Because one thing we need to understand is we are not perfect. In the same way, parenting is also not perfect. And none of us, none of our parents, maybe even we in today's society, at least in the society which I come from, which I know, there were no parenting classes, how to parent the child, how to handle the child. When we are in a very much happy situation, when we are in a very much blissful situation, yes, we can be reasonable to our kids, but those things don't dictate the traumatic care. Only when we are in the stressful situation, how we handle that stressful situation are going to dictate our childhood traumatic events. So when these kind of childhood traumatic events have caused a significant imprint, impact on our psyche, on our mental status, they would be dictating our thoughts. They would be dictating our behaviors. So when these are causing significant distress to our daily life, to our relationships, to our academic career, to our personal life, then it is advisable for you to visit a psychiatrist. And as a psychiatrist, we need to understand those kind of situations, why they are being there, why they are not getting erased. So are we trying to prove that we are the same as we are in the childhood? How are we reacting to them? Are we reacting to them in a very much healthy way? Are we reacting to them in a very much unhealthy way? For example, today morning, I was asking one of my patients that the complaint from the mother was he bought knife to home. So I asked the patient in a very much neutral, in very much calm sense, did you by chance anyway bring knife to home? This question in very much neutral and very much calm, composed manner itself created, he became very much offensive by this question. So he reacted in very much, what do you say, disappointed, and he is jumping into a little bit kind of a disturbance, maybe trying to become arrogant, something like that. So then, observing this, he said, I have asked you in a very much cool, calm, composed manner, and bringing knife doesn't mean you are bringing it for certain kind to bring certain kind of adversity. But knife can be used for chopping vegetables. Knife can be used for cutting fruits. We can use knife for those things also. But I see your reaction as if you are getting very much disappointed, as if though you were throwing, coming, express your anger. So why is that so? So here the question is put in a very much neutral sense, very much calm sense, but the person took it in a very much offensive manner. Okay. So how we are reacting to the situation? We need to have a certain kind of self-reflection, self-analysis, or if we are unable to have this kind of self-reflection, self-analysis, we might visit a professional who could help us in dealing with these kind of things. Have I answered you?
Yes,
Thank you very much, sir.
sir, actually, here are some of our medicals who wants to say their experience regarding the same, so that they wish to have some impact on the present medicals that actually had a good impact, and also they may relate to them. So here are some more of medicals, sir.
I would actually encourage them to say, but I would also allow them to, if they are not comfortable in telling directly, or if they are not comfortable in any way, you can actually express by sending in a different manner. It is okay. I encourage any way of expression.
Yes, sir. So here is one of our medicals, sir. She wants to convey it, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Anjali. Dr. Anjali, I'm a general physician.
You thought we will have able to hear with them. So, do you have earphones?
No, sir. I just found this, sir. Or else I will,
Can you move somewhere else?
So meanwhile, I will convey my uh, experience, sir. Actually, one of my friends actually, he had faced mental trauma, sir. But actually, he was not aware of it, sir. Actually, he is our medico and he studies well and everything is fine. But actually, he was lacking that parental care since the childhood. And he used to do all the things since the child by his own without any support, no mental support, no emotional support, no emotional bondage. But all the way he came, he crossed over all the things, and finally he was studying. But the similar case, how I saw was a similar situation, but the other of my friends was actually suffering because he was feeling insecurity, and also he was not even willing to say things because he feels that if he says it to others, some or other may be do harm to him. Such a trust issues are there, and also being an introvert, he did not even dare also. Like in that scenario, actually, how should we actually show our concern and support to him?
Okay. So when you're saying that your friend is being deprived emotionally, is being deprived of care, is being deprived of security or a direction. In the childhood, it is completely of emotional brain. Your intellectual abilities have not begun. They are beginning to get constructed, and they won't get constructed till adolescent age. So emotional nourishment is very much essential during the childhood. So when your friend didn't receive that emotional nourishment, when his emotions haven't been understood, and this kind of situation has been carried over to his adult life, it is logical to feel that person, for that person to feel inferior. It is very much logical for that person to feel very much lonely. So, to compensate this kind of loneliness, what that person might do to compensate that loneliness, he or she might uh, develop behaviors to fill that gap, probably by achieving, by uh, uh, indulging in more number of friendships. Even though if he is trying to indulge in more number of friendships, since he or she didn't receive proper emotional care, the relationship which he or she is indulged in would be maybe mostly superficial. So in this kind of scenario, what we can do is we should be able to analyze or um, elicit whether this thing is really true or not, whether he or she is feeling lonely or not. What are the compensatory behaviors which they do when they are feeling low? So we need to help them in a very much hierarchical manner, exposing their loneliness to them and let them feel the pain of that loneliness and tell, speak to themselves that it is okay to feel lonely. It's because I was been like this. My childhood is being like this. So to know they can revisit their childhood memories, face that kind of situation, and try to learn to have a meaningful relationships. And those meaningful relationships might not occur within one day or 2 days. It needs certain kind of patience. It needs certain kind of understanding to develop those kind of relationships. And once they have developed that kind of relationships, they might experience a kind of relief. We may not erase the childhood traumatic imprint. We may not erase the childhood memory, but we can ease the suffering by reliving and learning new things, new behaviors, new way of coping mechanisms, healthy mechanisms.
So actually, like for example, I'm talking about myself. I will generally be in a like a ambivert, like a introvertly extrovert. So I will be with some people, but at the best, that depends upon my comfort and convenience. But I can say to them, at least to some people. But what about the people? Like I have seen my fellow medicos and also juniors and seniors, many more. Like they just even don't share even anything and just being like an idol in the rooms and all, and like they will enjoy in their own comfort and their own space, but still if they have anything, still being a friend, they even don't share. Why, sir? Because there is no problem with the extroverts and ambiverts, most probably, because at to one or other they will share. But what about the introverts who even doesn't even express it out, even though they have agony or even though they have any sad sorrowness, anything else? Why, sir? But we can't comment on the nature because that was how they molded. They might be because since the childhood, but not in a single day that will change. But what to do for such people? And we generally focus mainly on those people because we just go to them and should speak to them. So how to deal with such people?
It is not about dealing with such people. See, extrovert, introvert, all these things are the labels which we are trying to put. Sometimes putting these labels might themselves cause certain kind of discomfort. Uh, be it an extrovert, be it an introvert, are we happy with what we are doing? Are we having a sense of satisfaction? Are we having a sense of being complete in what we do? If we are unable to have achieved that kind of satisfaction, that kind of happiness, or that kind of joy, maybe we can look at other people and try to learn from them. See, we don't learn by ourselves. So we have someone to teach us. So look at, take some healthy people as an example, and then we can try to learn from them. It is not like imitating them. It is not like copying them. So what would be trying to become better version of myself? So as far as you asked a question that how can we make an introvert talk to you? Respect his introvertedness, acknowledge his introvertedness, why they are introverted.
But is it okay to let them the same as how they were earlier, sir?
Why they are introverted?
Because I am selfish because of my friends. I am concerned about my friends, sir. So I just want him to talk to me, to share with me, so that it's not that I will do something or others, but it's feeling of strength, support, moral support, emotional support, and that he's not alone. I am there for him. Such moral support, I always feel that such a support will actually makes him feel secure and comfort at least to some extent.
You see your friend suffering with that introvertedness.
Yes, sir. Introvertedness, and also he had been deprived with parental care and also bondage, sir.
Okay.
So he was completely, since childhood, he had been in hostel, sir.
Okay.
So completely 18, 19 years.
Mhm.
So suddenly, if we tell him to speak and do all these things and all, how can he accept it?
Yeah. He can't accept it.
He can't accept it. But I can't make him to be like this idealism.
Okay.
So what to do?
Mhm.
How should I approach
Mhm.
without disturbing his own space?
Mhm.
If I actually insist him, he even have envy feeling on me.
Mhm.
Maybe. So
Okay.
what to do?
Yeah.
How to approach?
If your friend is a very much introverted person, okay, it is okay to be introverted. Okay. If at all he is not saying anything to you, if at all he is not sharing his situations to you, why is he unable to share? Is it because of you or is it because of him? If it is because of him, you should acknowledge. If it is because of you, was he able to develop trust towards you? If at all he is able to develop trust towards you, the introverts, most of the time, to develop a trust is a very much difficult thing to them. Why it is very much difficult for them to develop a trust? Because there was no significant personality who could guide them, who could take care of them. Maybe they have faced an abuse in their childhood. or maybe a person who is very much near or a dear person who he or she thought would be there with him, for him or her.
They might left,
They might have lived, or they might have died,
may deceive,
maybe deceived.
trust issues.
Yeah, trust issue. Because of these issues, maybe they haven't, they are not even ready to share their childhood trauma. Or
Because they might
share-
be worried the same thing may repeat.
They might repeat. So instead of that, they might stay neutral. They are not willing to share anything. So if you want an introverted friend to talk to you, you should be able to devote so much of yourself to gain his trust. Only then
True.
they might share their deepest secrets. And, and you should be very much careful not to break his trust again.
Yes, sir. So here are some of our medicals, sir.
Yeah.
They just want to say their experience, sir.
So will this be resounding again? They are just nearby us.
No, sir, no, sir.
Just try.
Hi, I'm
Carry on.
It's okay.
okay. I'm Dr. Anju. I'm a general physician. I'm working in the clinic. Regarding the mental health, I have a small story to share. During my graduation in my second year, we lost a friend due to the mental health issues. She was actually a very good in studies, and even she was very good in helping others as well. But what led to her suicide and or let's say as a death was she couldn't cope herself from the stress of marks like academics. She died after she wrote the exam, and even before we did not get our like we even before getting our results due to the stress and all, she committed suicide. So if we would have known what she was going through at that time, I think we would be able to help her, be with her side and all, but we were not able to help her. And we lost her eventually. So she was not even a hosteler. What happens is when people like students are in hostels, we can help each other by knowing their behavior and nature. But what happens with day scholars is they go through a lot of stress because they do not have most of the time with their friends. But if they're not able to share their feelings with their family and all, then this might be an issue. So, sir, I would ask you a question: how to deal, like, how to deal with day scholars who are like introverts and not able to share their views, because we are not getting so much of time with them to get to know them, what they are thinking, how their nature is, and all. So we might not be able to help them. So I would ask this question to you, sir.
Understand that she is your dearest friend. Okay. I extend my condolences to you. And I can see that you two are experiencing the trauma of your friend's loss. In the first instance, understanding a person is difficult. Even after spending so much time with our closest ones, sometimes we may feel that we may not have done things appropriately, or we may not have understood them properly. And the scenario which you have narrated, the situation which you have narrated with your friend, where she even committed suicide before even the result has occurred. So it is not a result based. It is not very much logical. But as you said, what she might have gone through, she might have put a lot of effort, very sincere effort, I might say. So which mostly she might have put an effort where she would have, she might have understanding oriented. But when it comes to the questions, when it comes to the answers, sometimes if the question papers or these questions will not decide our intellectual ability, or will not decide, the marks will not decide how much we have put our effort. But the feeling which she has carried, that she has not done reasonably well compared to what she has worked, or compared to what she has gone through and put through, okay, might have caused a disappointment. I have done so much of work. I have researched so much, but when I have put that on my paper, on the paper, I feel as if I have not expressed what all I have worked hard for. So that gap between what person expected and what is being expressed might have been so much severe. She couldn't bear. She might have not bared. So why wasn't she unable to put a reasonable standard? Reasonable standards. So something below or above might not cause that much disappointment. Trying to understand oneself, this is my capability, and this is how much I can achieve. Maybe if I put my standard a little bit more high, yes, it would be probably helping my growth, my understanding. It would be help me growing in my intellectual ability. If my standards are way too beyond my ability, why did I put that standard in the first place? This is the question. What made me to put my standards way beyond my ability? It is not you. It is not your friends. It is not your enemies, or it is not your peer groups. Why? Who put that kind of unrelenting stand? Why did that come in that first place? It is okay to feel sorry for the loss of your friend, but you are not responsible. Even if you have tried to understand it, it is very difficult to understand these things. So in this competitive world, where there are classes held for IIT even 5th standard or 6th standard, what kind of a childhood you are going to expect? What kind of do you expect a beautiful childhood? Do you expect a playful childhood? So with this kind of uncherishing childhood experiences, where you are almost always forced to be, pushed to be forward, greater, more than anyone. When that is not achieved, a severe kind of disappointment. And that again comes, you're unable to handle that disappointment. So it is beyond our hands sometimes. We should agree to that. Maybe we could help the program which you are trying to do, trying to reach many people. Okay, maybe would help changing the lifestyle of changing the parenting style, so that to create a healthy childhood. May know that I think in Finland, the school begins, I think, at 7 years of age. Okay, they don't have exams until 15 years. And the teachers are paid much more than politicians. Okay, that means how much care is being put in individual chance. Let's say, for example, we are building a house. Are we going to not trying to what you say, show kind of discrimination? We would try to lay the foundations, the plan of our building with an engineer, a very highly qualified person. Okay. So when we are trying to lay foundations for our kids, shouldn't the person who is laying the foundation should be highly qualified? Okay. So is it a habit to live the life? Or is its life is like an activity? It is not passive.
Yes, sir.
It is very much active. So we are always, most of the time, are stuck with surviving rather than thriving. So we need to learn to thrive rather than restrict ourselves to survive. So when we are trying to learn, okay, to thrive, trying to make our life beautiful, it is not an easy task. So thriving is always an active process and requires energy, needs our effort. If something which is easily attainable, anybody can attain. For growth, you need to strive, you need to thrive, you need to work for it, you need to grow for it. But that doesn't mean we should always be working. There should be a gap.
Yes, sir.
There should be a time to vent out. There should be a time to relax. So it's like maybe I will try to give you an example. If you're trying to cut trees with the same axe, initially you might cut many trees, but the axe sharpness as you cut would get blunted. So you need to take off, you need to take a rest, you need to sharpen the axe. Then again, you can go ahead. So in this way, you can build your ability to thrive step by step, and you can grow. So growth happens throughout your life until your death. So that is, you can say, scientifically also, that's neurology. It's
So-
just
Sorry.
Sir, actually, in this competitive world, even the parents are also like so obsessed, and like they are like enthusiastic that their child should go to school at the 2 years of age.
Mhm.
And if many are doing the so, how can they get that emotional bond, that motherhoodness?
Mhm.
And how can they be attached to parents, that if some or other thing happens, they can easily say to them? And also, even the NNC also, sir, like had been a competitive area. So they're even increasing the patterns, changing amendments and all these things. But are they focusing about the physical activities or else any activities that actually get rid of all the stress? Because they are increasing the academic stress, pressure, and everything else, and leaving behind the jewel.
Okay.
It's like a iceberg phenomenon, sir. So it's like focusing all the academics and leaving about the personal life in the drainage.
Okay.
So what are the recommendations or what are the advices you suggest to the young medicos to get rid of all this stress and all? And also, even the curriculum, sir, no, sir, it's so frank and transparent that even if you're being an NNC person, like how would you make the necessary steps for this competitive basis curriculums?
Did we understand what we are reading? First question.
Many are just like one night before exam, sir. Even many, I hope so. Almost all the medicals.
I wouldn't say it is I wouldn't put the students as victims. I wouldn't put. We are always, most of the time, are focused on exam oriented rather than understanding it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, understanding takes time. So your points are very much valid. Okay, so when a severe academic stress is put on our heads, it is very much difficult to concentrate. It is very much difficult to uh, realize our aim, realize our goal. Okay, we are always held in a rat race, going behind one particular thing, and that rat race never ends. Maybe we can do certain kind of studies about the stress, or maybe we can compare some of the country's academics with our country's academics, and maybe we can submit. Let's say you're saying that every child's parent want their child to be first. But if you ask some countries where they are top, they want their child to be happy.
That's the best answer.
They want their child to be happy.
Yes, sir.
So when if wanting your child to be happy is not sufficient, you should create a platform. You should create opportunities to make them feel happy. Like if they see for one of my brother's kid. So he was something around 2 years or something like that, 2 or 3 years, something like that. Exactly, don't remember his age. So he was very much deeply involved in scribbling. He took the pen and he was scribbling. And nothing disturbed him. Nothing disturbed him. The concentration was complete, full, and 100% I believe. So after scribbling for a very, very long time, he just looked at me with some kind of achievement. Yeah. For his age, that is achievement.
Yes.
Scribbling is achievement. You need to recognize that and you need to appreciate. But most of the time, what the hell are you doing? What nonsense are you doing? We are trying to apply our what do you say? We are trying to put us as the reference and comparing them. They have just been born few years back. So they need to get
This
right.
comparative nature that was like it is like a Ganges all over the world. It was just like a flourish like Ganges. And also, what is the main thing and important thing according to you, which is very essential for the mental wealth of young medicals?
I wouldn't
Because we have amidst of all academics or family pressure or a peer pressure or anything else, like the most important thing according to you, what should be done and what is highly indispensable things?
I wouldn't say it would be according to me, but it would be according to many people, many scholars, or many successful persons. Probably self-satisfaction will be the answer.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Because many people they're just being completely workaholic and they just don't bother about the families, or else like there is no like we don't deal about this monetary basis, but amidst of all those things, but not even having the time to spare with the family or with the wife, children, and all. And how can the child, if he been after growing up, how can he be reflected with this his father or mother?
Can you repeat the question? I didn't understand.
Sir, actually, even the workaholic, even the doctors, many are workaholic,
Mhm.
but they don't even spare much time with the family,
Mhm.
even wife or parents or even the child. Like if the child, if after grown up, like if he acknowledges that he was not even cared much, and how this modern young medicos and how this modern young generation children shown that reflect on the
Reflect on their parents.
parents is
So when a workaholic parent uh, is influencing his kid, when this kid grows up to be a doctor, what what he's going to become? Is that the question?
yes sir.
What he's going to
Like
become?
yeah, yes sir, because the same it will be like a hereditary sir, or else how can if he has to change, because he was just looking after only his father or mother. So being that he will be most exposed to the his home only, his or her home. So definitely there will be an impact and influence on him. So after growing up, how would that be reflected to him?
Obviously, our personality develops based upon the reactions towards the neuron,
Yes, sir.
towards our surroundings. So the reaction may not be only one particular reaction. There are different types of reactions. So looking at his parent, looking at his father, he might himself say, I shouldn't become like my father.
Yes, sir.
Or as you said, he would be practicing imitating his father the same thing. Or it would be like who bothers. So there can be different types of reactions from the same kind of stimulus. So he might become like his father, workaholic, or he might be exactly like his father, not bothering about anything, not working about anything, or he might become very much cold about anything which has happened. Or he might do exactly the opposite, whatever his parents did. So this could be different types of impact. It's not only this particular thing. It could be anything. The reactions are different. There may be one reaction, there may be different types of reactions.
So, like amidst of all these academic stress, what will you suggest to us to do so that we can at least be in a pressure relief, uh, that we can complete our day, so that we can sleep happily? That is the main point, I think, sir, because whatever things we do, whatever work we do, that is to fill our stomach and to have a good sleep. But unfortunately, we are not eating. We, the doctors, are not eating at the proper time and not sleeping at the correct time. So, what to do, sir? Because many genetic problems and all are being had a more instant rate than earlier days. So what should we do? Because it's already like a stress also, sir, because anything that reflects on the GIT. So what should we do? Because already we had academics and every pressure, like a 360-degree pressure. So with this 360-degree pressure, how should we cope up and also to lead our happy life? I'm saying again, to have a proper sleep and
Yeah, I think I don't need to answer this thing intellectually, because intellectual answers you are very well aware. Because you need to organize things, all these things. Yes, you are very well aware of those things. So that would be the intellectual answer. So the other answers which I might consider saying, I again would say this is not my personal thing. These are some famous quotes of different kind of famous. You need to cultivate our mind. We shouldn't think that we are victims of our childhood. Okay. We should first understand ourselves. What is our nature? What is our nature? How this nature of mine is preventing me to progress ahead. How this nature of mine is preventing me to progress ahead. So before progressing, you should be able to understand what your nature is. And after understanding your nature, you should be able to feel okay with it. Okay. This is
it's
my
like
nature.
a acceptance.
This is my nature, acceptance. This is my nature.
Yes.
I am like this. Let me be like this. So once the acceptance comes, then there would be certain kind of a relief. So once there is a certain kind of relief, then your brain would start working better. Then you are ready to move ahead, to move a step ahead. So it is cultivating your mind step by step with alternating breaks in between, the relaxations in between, going else. It is there in our body. We open and close our eyes, up and down. Sound waves are up and down. Even our history is up and down. Everything is up and down. So once there is peak, there will be low. You can take rest and then you are ready to move ahead. Cultivate the mind, which would be the aim of human existence.
Sir, thank you so much, sir, for sparing your valuable time amidst busy schedule and being with us and had a great insight to each and every one of us, sir. Thank you so much again, sir, for
Sir,
having.
sorry to interrupt you. Have a small question. Um, so you mentioned about things which which did help us a lot. But what about people who are going through mental health issues? Maybe the ones where they're not actually not associated with their family or paper. So how do we actually identify? Because I have seen a lot of people not really showing major signs and symptoms of depression, like the having a lot of sadness, grief, overeating, sleeping for a very long amount of time, or rather insomnia. So how do we really pick up? Because I have met a person a couple of days back where he was actually going through certain issues, and 2 days back he committed suicide. That's the news I got. But he was looking very much happy and normal. So how do we really identify that the person is really going through a lot of mental stress? I mean, that is what I just wanted to ask you.
I think we should know the person very much personally. Unless we know the person in very much personally, we may not understand the details. Maybe you can put a simple, straightforward question whether they're able to sleep properly or not, whether they're able to eat. Let's say, let's consider whether they are in balance or not. If they are out of the balance, maybe that could be the proper indication for consideration.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir, once again. And thank you so much, each and everyone, for being here. and supporting this workshop. Thank you so much.